on our way to a football game, and we received a phone call from a friend of ours saying how sorry they...
This issue that has not been ruled upon.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have you go to the jury room. Please do not discuss the case.
Uh-oh. All right. Jury's got to leave. We got to figure out if she's going to be allowed to say this. Please let her say this. I want to hear what she says about this. So, 2 months after the murders happened, he stages like a fake assassination attempt. So he like had like his cousin, drug dealer, mechanic guy, try to assassinate him on the side of the road where he got shot in the head, but it was like a superficial wound, so nothing really happened to him. And initially he was like, oh yeah, it was a car that came by, made a U-turn and like shot at me. And then later on he like confessed saying that like he knew the person and that he set it up because he wanted his son Buster to collect insurance money.
She was about to testify that she had heard about the roadside shooting.
Are we seeing a pattern here?
The state has not gone into the roadside shooting yet. Your Honor's not ruled on whether that's admissible or not. We object to under 403 as to being admissible, and substantively that is the objection. Evidence of the roadside shooting, it just opens up a whole new avenue of issues. Secondly, what she knows thus far would be hearsay, which is a technical objection, but certainly. We object to any evidence of the roadside shooting.
Your Honor, at this point, of course, this is responsive to a question that was raised on cross-examination by Mr. Griffin, in which she testified something happened in September. So for that reason, just to begin with, I believe that door is open to her to explain what it was that changed at that period in time, which was the nature of my question to her. Additionally, I think if we look beyond that, there is a connection, if we want to talk and have in-camera hearing about her answer and about 403 and 404, there is a logical connection between what happened in the roadside shooting and what happened on June 7th, 2021. And that connection is, of course, that the evidence will show that as the temperature increases, as there's a confrontation for Alec Murdaugh, then things like this happen, and that's what happened on September. But as it relates to this specific witness, this was an answer that came up during the defense cross, and it's fair to explore with this witness now what changed in September, which she's already testified to from a defense question.
And what was the question that prompted the response that you now indicate opens the door for this? Yes.
So in that particular question and in her response, he asked her, and he had been, of course, engaging in great detail about the family relationship and that sort of thing, and put up a picture and all the rest of it, and asked her about her assessment at that particular time, and she went in and started to explain that. And he was specifically asking about Alec being concerned about clearing Paul's name in the boat case. And then she explained further that, and he asked her if that was any big deal. And then she went on to explain her answer, and that's when she talked about how everything changed in September. And that was what I was exploring, what happened in September, which has been testimony before this jury, and I think now fair game for them to understand what happened in September.
All right. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, that was not the question.
What was the question? That was my question to Mr. Waters, and he's explained a whole lot. I don't know if he responded to my question. Maybe you will. What was the question that you posed that generated the response about her concern and her concerns changing?
The question that I asked related to her, I said, you testified previously that you didn't believe Alec was concerned about finding out who did this, or more concerned about clearing Paul's name. And then she says, well, it seemed odd he wasn't concerned about finding out who did this. And I said, why do you think he was not concerned? And then she goes into testifying, well, initially we thought it was the boating accident, and then after September we thought perhaps it's something completely different. And I mean, I was exploring her testimony on direct, and she offered up the issue of the roadside shooting. So
Oh
I
man,
didn't ask anything about the roadside shooting, Your Honor. I was asking her why she thought Alec was not trying to, what was the basis of her belief that Alec wasn't trying to find out who did this?
All right, Mr. Waters.
And I apologize if I wasn't more clear. I don't remember the specific question, but what I do.
We have court reporters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have the court reporter read it back.
We'll have
Oh,
Ms. Harris, if you'll go back a bit to
they are hoping
Mr.
it doesn't come in.
Griffin and his questioning.
It's gonna be real
Ms.
bad if the jury
Proctor.
hears about this. I honestly don't remember. I like slightly vaguely remember, but it wasn't like, it's not clear and defined for me whether or not he really asked about, the change in moment in September, whatever.
And solely consumed about the, I don't know how far that was, Maggie being consumed about the boating accident. And
Hi, Cecilia. How are you doing today?
if it's not too far back from there on up to where.
I mean,
where
two of
you
the
are
jurors had COVID and they couldn't come in. Maybe some sickness is spreading. Or they're just thirsty. Maybe it's really dry in there, really cold,
now. And if you need a break, we can take one for you to locate it.
Yeah, what is she doing with the steno mask? Is that what it's called?
I'm looking for the question.
Right.
Take a break?
You're not critical about Alex wanting to clear Paul's name.
You need to be loud enough for me to hear you at least. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, this one.
Oh, God, the lawyers are standing out there like, come on! They are nervous.
You're not critical about Alex wanting to clear Paul's name. After he was murdered, are you? I am not critical about that at all. I think that was his way of honoring Paul after he was gone. I just thought his priority should have been focusing on finding out who killed Maggie and Paul. And how do you know that wasn't a priority? We never talked about it. We never talked about finding the person who could have done it. It was just odd. And we were sort of living in fear because we thought this horrible person was out there and we didn't. We were mostly afraid for Alex and Buster. We didn't know the motive behind the killings. We thought it was probably had something to do with the boat case, right? And we thought that up until September. All right?
Wait, but she asked that.
And
she
then
said
things
that.
started to change a little bit.
Oh, no! I think it's going to be
We were
in.
aware that Alex started carrying a gun.
Oh, I don't know. Were you aware that Alex started carrying a gun? So it could be like, oh, in September, it was when he started carrying a gun, or in September, it was because of the roadside thing.
All right, Mr. Waters.
Your Honor, again, these were in direct responses to his question as he was exploring her statement about his concern on the boat case. And in fact, the reference to September was actually in response to a follow-up question that the defense continued down that line of questioning. That answer has now come out, and I think that the witness, again, is entitled and is fair game at this point before.
Testify to what changed in September?
What she meant by that. Yes, sir, what she meant by that.
And what changed in September?
Do you want me to talk to them?
Yes, ma'am.
So we received a phone call from a friend of ours who said he was so sorry to hear about my brother-in-law. And the call came in to my husband, Bart, and Bart said, "What are you talking about? We don't know anything." And he said, "Well, your brother-in-law's been shot."
Gee.
And we literally stopped the car, pulled over on the side of the road,
Alex,
and it was just the worst feeling in the world because I thought whoever had killed Maggie and Paul had now shot Alec, and I was horrified that Buster was next.
Oh, man, I feel so bad for Marion.
So we made a phone call to Buster, and Buster said his dad had been shot, but that he was okay. He was on his way or in the hospital at that time, I can't remember. And then at some point, and I'm not sure, I think I was in shock. At some point, we spoke with Jim Griffin that day, and he told us that yes, Alec had been shot, that he had been fired from the law firm because he had been caught stealing money.
I made a poll, guys. What do you guys think?
All right, thank you.
I can't vote my own poll, but I say
Yes, sir.
yes, but
Again, that's her explanation, and I believe that's fair game in this particular instance to this particular witness's testimony that had come out on cross-examination. And I probably would have...
And I did not open the door. I said,
You're probing her about Alex's fears. Doesn't Alex, were you aware that he started carrying a gun? Well, he always carries a gun in his car. No, but then he started carrying it in his pockets. So you're having her, cross-examining her to suggest that Alex was living in fear, as evidenced by the fact that he continued or started carrying a gun, not in his vehicle, but on his person. And she, in her response, says, well, I never, didn't appear to me that he was living in fear. I didn't know anything about that and responding to you until in September when this occurred for whatever reason. Now, what the truth of what occurred, she's not testifying as an investigator. She said she heard he'd been shot. And that gave her, changed her reason for concern in some way, whatever that might be, I don't know.
Jim.
Still have a reason for concern, or you
Jim.
about Alex's safety, or did it, was it changed, was it altered?
Alec is whispering to him.
That day, and for some time after that, we were very concerned for the family. We felt like someone was after them, but then we started finding out about other things that had been going on in Alec's life. And
This is in part based on your conversation with Mr. Griffin?
this is everything that has come out since then.
Did you say that you had a conversation with Mr. Griffin?
That day that we found out that Alec had been shot, we did have a conversation with Mr. Griffin, and he's the
Mr. Griffin
one.
told you that he'd been fired and that he'd been caught stealing money.
Correct.
that's just hearsay.
Well,
Absolutely hearsay.
what kind of quandary does that put you in? You going to be a witness as well?
Well, it is, that's a hearsay statement, Your Honor. Without a doubt, it's classic hearsay.
It's the basis for her fear or not having fear, which is something you, or fear or believing that Alex was in fear, that's something that you were probing.